Almost done, and then we can get kicked off.
Cool.
Okay. Well, terrific. We'll go ahead and get started and kicked off. Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, and I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to this weekend and some downtime. I am Juliette Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and if you are coming back to us, welcome back. Thank you for tuning into our broadcast. And if you are a newcomer onto our page, these live broadcasts are terrific for you to binge watch. Make sure that you visit the video section of this Facebook page. You can also find the videos on our Westminster Chamber of Commerce YouTube page, where we are also simultaneously going live on that platform. Or if you don't prefer social media or know somebody that should access these videos that does not engage on social platforms, they can also find them on our resources hub. That's westminsterchamber.biz, COVID-19 updates. Now, I always like to recommend, if you're already liking our page, that you follow it. And if you have not liked the page already, make sure that you like us and you follow us so you can get those alerts when we do go live. And we're also on other social platforms. That's at Westy Chamber on both Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Long-winded, but I like to give you guys some housekeeping rules before we get kicked off and started. Today's broadcast, as you all are aware, generally we round out the Fridays with our city, county, state, oftentimes federal as well, delegates, whether they're people that are elected in the administrative side or someone that can provide updates through their lens to us. We geared off September, I want to say the middle of September, we started transitioning our Fridays to primarily focus on elections and preparing for voting and what that looks like in terms of voting in COVID, voting, is it more important today than it was a few years ago, et cetera. So each Friday, we're bringing to you an expert to try and provide you with facts, tips, and suggestions on how you can make your voice heard and count and why it matters to go out there and reflect your voice at the polls. So today's broadcast is brought to you with Adams County's clerk and recorder, Josh, who's been in this role for, I want to say, about 18 months, maybe a little bit longer. Time sure flies. But he'll share a little bit about his role, what his office does, and then more on voting on the Adams County side. I see a lot of people that are already starting to hop on here. I don't want to lose track of you all. So as you're coming on, make sure you give me that thumbs up so I can recognize you by name. You can also start commenting on here as well. I see Brian Dice, I also see Wayne Anderson. Good morning to you as well. I am pulling up these comments so you all are becoming more familiar. We like to engage with you and make this as interactive as possible. To do that, we rely on your comments or questions that you may share our way. So as our speaker is sharing some of the information, make sure that you type in any comments that you might have, whether it's pleasantries, compliments, or if you have questions for us that he can deep dive on. We want to hear those as well. Good morning to you, Brian. Thank you, Wayne and Brian, for commenting on here. I also see, Emilio and several others that have joined us. So keep commenting, liking, so I can give you those shout outs. Josh, that's long-winded, but I told you I like to hog up the start of this broadcast with some information that I think is pretty useful. So I'll mute myself now and I'll turn it over to you to share some information with us.
All right, thank you, Juliet. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. It's nice to join this group of business folks and community members. I am a little bit jealous that you get to enjoy this weekend. Ballots actually just got delivered to the post office this morning, and they will start arriving in mailboxes as of tomorrow. So I will be working this weekend and every day through probably most of November. So enjoy, I'm jealous, and do something fun for me. As Juliet mentioned, I'm Josh Sigelbaum, I'm the Adams County Clerk and Recorder. A little bit of background, I've been in this role for about 18 months. I was sworn in January 18 months ago. So coming up on the 2-year mark here. Absolutely love it. Prior to this, I was actually on Thornton City Council for 3 years, and professionally, after getting out of the Marine Corps, I got into the banking and finance world, and was most recently with American Express doing global process improvement and efficiency work. Anywhere that a card member or a merchant came in contact with Amex, if there was something that was not efficient about it, that would come across my desk and figure out how to improve the process and make lives easier for those that work with us. And really, that is a wonderful background for what I do now as the county clerk. A lot of what we do, voting is not as simple as just receiving your ballot in the mail and dropping it off in a Dropbox or putting it in the mailbox and sending it back to us and then seeing results. There are hundreds of people that are involved. It's months and months, sometimes up to a year's worth of work on an election. We've been working on this presidential election for almost a year now. And there's a ton of work that actually goes into it. There's a whole lot of equipment, and there's a process. There's a flow that ballots go through, and you can actually see that flow on our website. It's adamsvotes.com. There's a couple of videos there, and I'll actually show you the life of a ballot so you can see what happens to your ballot once you send it back to us and how it travels through the process in order to get tabulated and all that. But there's a ton that goes into it. A lot of my focus since coming into office has been improving our processes, smoothing them out quite a bit, removing some bottlenecks, and really speeding things up so that come 7 p.m. on election night, we can get results out to you with as many ballots tallied as possible, just shortly after 7 p.m. That's something that we owe to the public. So that's a bit about my background and what I've brought to the office here. Obviously, the big elephant in the room is certainly the presidential election that's coming up here on November the 3rd. As I mentioned, ballots hit the mail stream this morning. I'm told by the Postmaster General for the area that they will begin processing this afternoon and they will start arriving in mailboxes tomorrow. So please keep an eye out. There are many ways to return them back to us. I know that George Stern, my counterpart in Jefferson County, probably talked about this as well, but just a reminder, you can drop them in the mail to us if you wish. It's a 55-cent stamp or one forever stamp that you can use. But what we're really encouraging is the use of our drop boxes. In Adams County, we have 28 located around the county. It's actually the highest number of drop box per capita in the state of Colorado. We have 5 of them located in the city of Westminster. There are several located around it in North Glen and Thornton, Federal Heights. So no matter where you are, you can drop it in a ballot box. And if you happen to cross the line and go over into Jefferson County, you can put it in their drop box as well, and it will get back to us. We do something following the election the day after called the Great Ballot Exchange. And that's where we all go to Denver and all the counties get together and we give each other the ballots that we received in our drop boxes from those respective counties. So it will get back to me and will get processed regardless of the drop box that you put it in. And that's good news. If you do need to go to a voter service and polling center, or VSPC for short, we have 5 of them located around Westminster. And of course, you're welcome to go to any of them in the county. If you happen to venture outside the county and go into a VSPC, you can still vote there. However, you won't be able to use an Adams County ballot. It would be a statewide ballot. So you'd still be able to vote on all of the federal races, the statewide races. You just won't be able to vote on, say, the local Westminster races or anything that has to do with Adams County. So you can still get your vote in. If you're only interested in voting for the big ones, the big tickets, you can do that using a statewide ballot in another county. If you're really interested in having a say or input on that local stuff, definitely want to use the ballot that we sent you in the mail or come into an Adams County VSPC. In those VSPCs, you can register to vote up to 7 p.m. on election day. That's a rarity. You can't do that in most states in this country. Colorado is unique in that fashion. You can drop off your ballots. You can register update your address. Do all sorts of different things in the VSPCs. So if you do need to come in, please do so. We have put a very heavy emphasis on safety in our vote centers and in our processing centers. So that you'll notice when you go in, all of the election workers will be wearing face coverings or face shields, I should say. Some do wear both. They'll be wearing gloves. There's plexiglass just about everywhere. Equipment is socially distanced. We have one election worker who is solely dedicated to sanitizing. So after a voter uses a machine or a particular table, they'll go over there and clean it. Nothing personal against that particular voter. We just want to keep the virus under control. And we'll also be issuing each voter that comes in their own pen that they can take with them to vote and then leave with. We don't want it back. It's been recommended that single-use pens are the way to go right now with coronavirus. So that pen will be yours. It does say Adams Votes on it, so you can keep it for posterity or toss it out, whatever you choose to do. So that's a little bit about the logistics of voting for this upcoming election. Again, all that information as far as locations can be found at adamsvotes.com. You can also call my office if you have questions. The phone number is on Adams Votes, but chances are you'll get the info you need on the site. The phone number is 720-523-6500. And you can always email us as well. That's adams.elections@adcogov.org. So you can get a hold of us. There's several ways to get a hold of us. Of course, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Nextdoor. There's lots of different avenues to reach us. So some of the hot topics I want to talk about today, we've already covered COVID and what we're doing to protect voters when they come on into the polling centers. In the elections warehouse, we're doing something very similar. Of course, there's the mask mandate. Election workers will be wearing gloves. As much as we can, things are spaced out, 6 feet apart for social distancing, and locations where, unfortunately, because it is a ballot sorting machine or some other equipment that individuals will have to be close to each other in order to operate it, we do have plexiglass keeping them apart, even though they're next to each other and they can still see and communicate. They are all issued their own pens, their own hand sanitizer, multiple sets of gloves, multiple masks. There is plenty of PPE to go around here, and they are all required to use it. So I think that probably rounds out the COVID piece. If there's any questions on that, I'm happy to answer them either now or later. Or, of course, you can reach out to my office directly as well. One of the big pieces that's been in the media these days is around voting by mail. Obviously, it's not new to Colorado. And it's not new to the United States as a whole. Voting by mail has actually been around since the Civil War. That's how Union soldiers voted during the Civil War. Since then, it's been a part of every election. Service members overseas have always been able to vote using a mail ballot system. If there's an expatriate that happens to live overseas, my parents lived in the Netherlands for a few years after I moved out of the house, they voted using this system. When I was in the Marine Corps, I was registered to use the system, didn't actually end up overseas during an election, so I didn't have to use it. But this is not a new concept. And here in Colorado, it's not perfect. No system is ever perfect, but we've got it pretty fine-tuned. And your ballot, we need to receive it back by 7 p.m. on election day. It's not, we don't go by postmark, so it does need to be back to us. Again, if you're going to put it in the post office or in the mailbox, it'll be a 55-cent or a forever stamp. Please don't mail them within 1 week of the election. And that's simply so that we can guarantee that we will get it back in our office and your vote will count. If it is within a week of the election, use the drop box, go into a VSBC, drop it off there, come into my elections office and hand it to one of my clerks, hand it to me, we'll take care of it. We want to make sure that your vote counts. Voter fraud with mail balloting has been a big topic, and it's simply a non-issue. That's the reality of it. Does it take place? Can it take place? Sure. I know of a situation a couple of elections ago where a now ex-wife didn't give the ex-husband his ballot. Instead, she filled it out, signed a signature, sent it into the office, and she's since been prosecuted for voter fraud. Right? So things like that happen. It is illegal and next to impossible for somebody to vote twice. In the event that it does happen, the law enforcement is all over it. I was actually recently contacted by Colorado Springs Police Department because they suspect that somebody voted twice, once in Colorado Springs and once here in Adams. and that person is now under investigation. They voted twice allegedly in the presidential primary, so just a few months ago, and now they are currently under investigation for it. And if they did it, they will go to jail. So it is rare. That's two incidences out of about 1.5 million ballots that I have sent out here in Adams County. So it is a very rare issue. Is it possible to happen? Sure, anything is possible, especially when it comes to elections. We plan for absolutely everything. When I heard that there was a potential asteroid hitting on November 2nd, we even had a meeting about what's our contingency plan in the event that an asteroid hits Adams County. So we plan for everything that we can possibly plan for. We protect against voter fraud through our systems that we have. We have an automatic signature verification that looks for many points of a signature to confirm that it does belong to a voter. If there are questions about that signature, it goes to human eyes to take a look at. And there's actually 2 tiers of eyes that will look at it. If it's deemed not that voter's signature for whatever reason, signatures change over time. Maybe it's a new voter and we don't have a long record of their signatures on file, or you do something silly like I do and you accidentally add a middle initial into your signature when you're running for Thornton City Council because you're distracted by filling out your name on the ballot, and then you get this letter in the mail because it didn't show up as your actual signature in the system. So it's even happened to me when I was running for office the very first time, and it's as simple as completing an affidavit, letting us know as the elections administrators that yes, this was in fact your signature, and then we tally your vote. If we don't receive that back, we cannot count your vote, and your name or that ballot will actually get turned over to the district attorney for investigation for voter fraud. So it's sort of a closed loop. We do everything we can to make sure somebody's vote will be tallied. There's lots of reasons why someone doesn't return that letter in the mail to us. And actually, we've just implemented an app that you can use called Text to Cure. The state recently adopted it. We adopted it a couple of elections ago, where you can actually go on and you can do it electronically to us rather than using the paper that we send you in the mail. So there's lots of easy ways to do it. And it's even happened to me. So it can happen to any of us. Signatures, again, change over time. My signature when I was 16 and got my first driver's license is not what it is today. My last name is Ziggelbaum, which is extremely long, and my mom made me write out each individual letter in cursive. Now it's just a giant squiggle. Today's kids are not learning cursive in school, so oftentimes their signatures are printing. So again, it changes over time. So if you get that letter, please fill it out immediately, send it back to us, even if the races aren't close. That's a common reason people don't send it back to us. They don't see the point in spending the time if a race isn't close and their vote may not truly make that difference. But please get it back to us anyway. We want your vote to count. We want you to participate. Once that signature is verified, your ballot will be tallied. And of course, we start processing as soon as we receive the ballots back. We do request that you get your ballot back to us early. Please don't wait until election day to put it in the drop box. If you do, that's fine. It'll still get counted. We just know that there are going to be around 250,000 ballots cast in Adams County, and that takes a very long time to count. We want to make sure that we can get as many ballots counted by 7 p.m. so we can release some pretty significant results for everyone. So the sooner you can get your ballot back to us, the better. Again, ballots should be hitting mailboxes tomorrow, and primarily, I'd say they will all be in mailboxes within the next 3-4 days, depending on where you live in the county. And it's as simple as filling it out as soon as you get it, dropping it in a Dropbox. Again, adamsvotes.com. You can find one that's conveniently located. With my data analysis background, we've actually done a lot of mapping to figure out where boxes need to be located. So we looked at traffic patterns and travel patterns of our voters amongst population density and many other key factors, and have moved boxes around and installed boxes. So there should be one on pretty much any path that you take to get anywhere you want to go, or at least within a reasonable distance of it. Definitely use that Dropbox. The post office will get it back to us. It just takes a little bit longer, and we'd like to get it as soon as we can. One lucky coincidence is I have a brand new neighbor who happens to be the director of logistics for the USPS, and we share a fence. And so every weekend, Phil and I, when we're mowing our lawns, we talk about what's going on with the post office, and they are treating our ballots as if they're gold. He said that they, with the national rhetoric and the, I guess, essentially slandering of the post office that's been going on, he said they really want to make sure that they get it all right. And so we saw this morning when our ballots were delivered, their entire process was different. It was much more smooth. Our ballots were accepted basically right away. There was no wait. They got into their processing center, the general mail facility, and they started working on them. He said that they're willing to even go to the extent of delaying other mail in order to ensure that election mail gets where it needs to go. So they are certainly going above and beyond, and it's nice to have that kind of inside scoop living right next door to me. I promised I wouldn't share his full name or his address, but he's a really good guy, and he was actually brought out here to help fix some of the issues the post office had in previous elections. So he actually moved out here from Portland, Oregon, where they also do mail balloting. So he's very familiar with it all. Again, I do want to stress every vote will count. If you happen to get that letter in the mail, please get it back to us. Use the app. You can find information about all of that on adamsvotes.com. You can register to vote at govotecolorado.gov. That's Secretary of State's website. Again, govotecolorado.gov. There's a link to it from our website. If you happen to have kids at home and they are 17 but will be 18 by the time the election takes place, they can register to vote and vote in this general election. If you have a 16-year-old, they can do what's called pre-registering to vote, where they fill out all the paperwork, and the moment they turn 18, we send them a ballot. If there's an election going, they become active registered voters for whatever party they've selected, or unaffiliated if they haven't selected a party, and that'll happen automatically when they're 18. So a good way to get them prepared for it. If you do have a kid of that age, or even a little bit younger, and my light just turned off, and you're comfortable with it, show them how to fill out a ballot, show them where to sign, show them how to lick the envelope. Whenever I go talk to a school class, I tell them that licking the envelope that's the taste of elections. And most of them have never seen how to do that. They don't know where to go get stamps. They don't know how to send a letter in the mail. So work with them and help show them the ropes if you have a kid that's of that age, and we'll retain it. If you have questions, if they have questions, if you know a teacher and you want me to come into their class and talk with them about this very same topic, happy to do that. If you have folks that work for you and you're interested in holding a session, I'm happy to talk with them about elections. Obviously there's a letter next to my name on the ballot, but I see my job as being nonpartisan, so you haven't heard me mention a party once here. And I won't do that. I really see my role as being nonpartisan, and that's key in order to running a solid election and one that can be trusted by the voters. And so if I do go in anywhere, it'll be a similar conversation as to this. It'll be fact-based, and we'll talk about where to get information, what information they need to know, and we'll really do our best, me and my team, to help support anyone that needs help in voting. Whether it's registering to vote, simply answering questions, replacing their ballot, providing them with language translation services if they need it, you name it, we're here. Our job is to help people vote, and we take it very seriously. So with all of that, I will, a lot of information all at once, but I'd love to answer any questions that you, Juliet, have, or anyone viewing today.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Josh. I think that was very informative. I've tried to type in a lot of what our Adams County Clerk and Recorder has shared with us into the comment section of this broadcast. For those of you that are just now hopping on with us, we have Josh, who's provided us a wealth of information as it relates to COVID and voting at polling sites, how some of those that are working the elections will still be protected. And then moving into some of the advancements in voting, how to get registered, make sure that you have access to different sites that you can drop off, mail in person, mail or go in person, etc. So a lot of great ways that you can get engaged. We have a lot of people that have started tuning in with us. I don't want to lose sight of giving some shout outs. And then I have some comments for you from folks, comments from you, from me, and we may go over slightly, just FYI. I see Adam Berg from Adams County as well. Thank you for hopping on here. And Jeff Watson out in DC. Thanks for tuning in. Brian Head, Sean Kaiser. I also see Counselor Seymour, and Danielle is on here as well with us. So several people that have tuned in since the start. First up, I just want to thank you for your service. Josh, you mentioned that a few times that you were involved, and then you also moved into the Thornton City Council role before taking on another one. So you're definitely serving at heart, and I just appreciate you serving and respecting our country in that regard and protecting our freedom. So thanks for that. We have a quick comment. This is funny. So it comes to us from Counselor Seymour. Thank God it's Friday. You may not have heard, but poor Josh will have to be working this Friday or this weekend. And so he's not as, as excited as you and I are, Rich, about this, but that is hilarious. Brian Dice is sharing a thank you note for sharing some of the information. It's timely, especially right now. And you highlighting from voter fraud to what we're hearing with mail-in ballots and just the overall sentiment about our postal services as well. I also see Brian Head providing us a nice good morning note and message. Danielle had a question for us, and this related, it was right after you mentioned, if you have a child that's about to turn 18 or someone that's going to have an opportunity or would have an opportunity to vote, but they missed the threshold on getting it mailed out and the opportunity that's there for them. So Danielle's asking if that is an option that's available while kids are going to get their licenses or learner's permits. Do you know that if that is simultaneously available to them or if people can access it?
Yeah, absolutely. A wonderful question. One piece I didn't get into is all the different places you can go to register to vote. I did mention the VSBC, Go Vote Colorado. Of course, that's a website you can go to. Any of the motor vehicle offices where you would get your license plates from, or of course, if you need to go in and get a learner's permit or a driver's license, they do it there too. There's actually some recent legislation creating an automatic voter registration system. So anytime someone now goes in to get a driver's license, they're automatically registered to vote unless they opt out of doing it. And that's a wonderful way to increase the number of people who are ready to participate. Whether they choose to cast that ballot or not is up to them. But hey, at least they're ready to do it. At that time, the individual has the ability to choose a party to affiliate with, or just go unaffiliated, and that's perfectly acceptable as well. But that will happen when they go into the office to get their permit or license. Each high school is legally required to have a registrar. We work very closely with them, and so the kids can actually pre-register and register to vote at their high schools as well. And as we're going around, I mentioned doing talks at schools. We do go into high schools. It's a little different now under COVID, but we go into high schools and we have very similar conversations with high school juniors and seniors about civics and civic responsibility and voting and how to do it, how to register. And I have people from my staff who are there to help students even register to vote right then and there. So there's a number of ways to do it, but that permit and licensing piece, especially now with the automatic voter registration, is a really big one. So anytime you go in there, that's something that could happen. Even if you already have a license, they may ask you about it. If you don't have a license, that is a part of the process now.
Of course. Thank you so much for answering that. She had followed it up by sharing that she loves getting those text message alerts that you mentioned early on. So some people are reading those and not just, swiping right and deleting. It's being effective for sure. So this is something that we hadn't really touched on, and I just want to go ahead and ask it of you. I see Parker Brown has started hopping on here as well with us. Thanks, Parker, for that thumbs up. What percentage is registered, and you may know this off the top of your head, what percentage of the population of Adams County is actually registered to vote? And if you can give me a ballpark from that, who actually does exercise their right past it?
Yeah. It's been changing daily, so I don't know today's numbers. So I'll give you a ballpark. It's about 70% of Adams County is registered to vote. We have over 300,000 individuals now who are of age and eligible to vote in Adams County. It's about 70% of those. We're sending out about 250,000 ballots this time around. Again, ballpark. And there are 223 different ballot styles. So if everybody, if you live in a neighborhood, even if it's right next door or across the street, your ballot could be slightly different based on the tax district you live in, or if you're in, a park and rec district, or a different fire district or school district. So there's lots of different styles of ballots that go out. We're sending out, again, about 250,000 of them, and we have an inter-office pool. No money goes into it. It's just pride of guessing and hopefully winning. I'm guessing we'll get back about 225,000 ballots for this election, but that range for my inter-office staff being about 190,000 to about 230,000. So just so you know, that's sort of what we're expecting to get back here in Adams County. For both the primaries that we had, the presidential back in March and the statewide in June, we had a return of 100,000 ballots, which was spot on for what we anticipated. And this one, we're expecting a little bit over double that.
Excellent. Thank you for giving me an idea. I know there is a lot of variables, but I always like to give people an understanding of, what's going on in the communities, and that there's still a good number of people that aren't registered. And even if they are, they're not actually utilizing that right that they have. So that's great to know. I've typed that into the comment section. It's also nice to know that you share a fence. I bet that makes interesting conversation for you. You might have some people that find out where you are, maybe get your lawn mowed so that they have the opportunity to talk with that postal service and as well. Before I close out, was there any other last minute things that you wanted to share, Josh? You touched on a lot of things for people, honestly, from how you guys are making sure that people can vote, and the opportunity that they have to go to any polling site, even if it's out of the county, they could still turn in their ballot and make sure that their voice gets counted, because then there's the reciprocity right after it where counties give back. And even if you're out of the county and you still want to vote, that they can still exercise the right at state and national issues, and people that are seeking offices, if they go to a different jurisdiction, just letting go of their own individual issues that they would have voted on.
Yeah, that's right. The last piece I'll leave you with is that every vote does count. Even though the popular races tend to be president, and me as an individual, my vote is a very small percentage of the total votes that come in for that. But there's a lot of races here locally, and a couple of recent examples. In North Glen in 2017, there was a city council race that came down to a tie. Upon recount, it was a tie again, and my predecessor ended up pulling the winner's name out of a hat. So if one more person had voted, it would have made the difference. Down in Aurora, the mayor's race came down to 300 votes out of a city of about 320,000 people. So one individual vote really can make the difference here locally. If you're passionate about a local issue, if you're passionate about a local candidate, please make sure you get your ballot in. It's a lot more than just the federal offices that are at stake this time around. So please make sure you turn in your ballot. Turn it in early. There's always that phrase, vote early and often. Don't do the often piece. It's illegal. Just vote early, and we'll make sure it gets counted. Again, if you sign up for ballot tracks, either through our website or through the Secretary of State site, you will receive messages from us when your ballot is on its way to you, or when we receive it back, and then also when it's been processed. So we will communicate with you if you have any questions. Juliet was kind enough to throw my contact information in the chat there. Please reach out. If you've missed the chat, or you forget to write it down, or you lose the paper that you wrote it down on, adamsvotes.com is the website. You can get a hold of us there. My office is located in Brighton. You're even welcome to stop by and say hello. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. Juliet, thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, thank you, everybody that's tuned in. For those of you that started hopping on later on in this broadcast, which I see a lot of you that are still coming on, this video will be available for you to replay and rewatch at any point in time. Please be sure that you share this out with your network so people are just as informed as you are about the processes and the things that we have in place to ensure that you can actively vote and make your vote count, and hopefully get some of those questions or concerns addressed for those folks. If you do have any questions or comments past this, we've typed in to the comment section of this broadcast, the website, that's Adco, adamsvotes.com. Into the comment section, we also included the phone number and email to our clerk and recorder's office. If you have any additional comments or questions, you can also drop them into the comment section or privately message it to us if you'd like for us to have a sidebar one-on-one conversation and see what we can do to help you best. I do want to thank you guys for staying informed by taking 30 minutes out of your day to be here with us. I know we went a little bit over, but it was great information. I didn't want to cut it off. And honestly, I feel like I could keep going with you, Josh. So I had to cut it off at some point. But I do appreciate you taking some time to be on here with me. I want to ask you to stay with me as I close this completely out. We will be back here on Monday morning at 11 o'clock, of course, with our Mayor Atchison, Mondays with the Mayor. So if you have any questions as it relates to the city, what's going on right here in our community or across the state, tune into the broadcast on Monday. And I hope everyone enjoys the weekend and thinks of everyone that is working to make sure that we have the rights and everything that are available to us that we do today. So thank you guys. Enjoy the terrific weekend and sunshine.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.